Welcome to a video talking about the car buying experience and our car dealerships ruining that for people, at least in the United States. There's never been a topic that has been more confusing than this for me because I can't think of any other product that you're gonna buy. Like if I was excited about going to the store to buy a TV or going online to do some shopping for something I really liked, I'm not dreading that purchase. Even buying a washer and dryer refrigerator, like that should be a horrible experience, but that's better than buying a car. And the overwhelming sentiment I get from talking to people that like cars or first-time car buyers that talk to us, they're like, why does the dealership experience suck so bad? And I would say, because I bought so many cars, it's gotten better for me with age because I understand the system better, so I know how to navigate it, but it's still 60% negative, 40% positive, and that's not good odds. And if you're going in for the first time, it can be very scary. So I'm gonna talk about, in this video, some things that I've learned, explain some of the dealership experience and how to navigate it and what you could do, whether you're an enthusiast or a not common car shopper or a first-time car buyer. So let's start with this, understanding the dealership experience. Almost every single dealership in the United States is franchised, which means you can open up a store working with the brand. So if you want to open up a Chevy store and you want to license that, you work with the brand, you can get financing to open up the store, you build it out, and it is massively expensive to buy a new one and do that. Now, if you're a dealership that's been around for a while, you might grow and open up several other stores, but they're independently or corporate owned. So you could have a family-run store, or you could have a massive company like AutoNation that owns cajillion stores across the United States. But the thing is, it's not run by the manufacturer. And the manufacturer only has so much control, and a lot of that has to do with the laws in the United States. This is how the dealership experience has been run for so long. So you might ask, why do we need it that way? Well, it's tricky, right? Because the manufacturers don't have to have the network to sell their own cars. All of that is done by these owners. The owners take on the responsibility and liability of running these stores, from service departments to sales force to overhead to electricity. The storefront, all of that is on them. The brands don't have to manage the system. They just have to be intermediaries. So the thing is depending on what dealership it is, if it's a brand that, like a big company that owns a ton of dealerships and they move thousands or tens or 20,000 units for a company, like let's say Honda had a franchisee that owned 20 Honda stores and they sold 20,000 cars for them in a month. That's a lot for them. So they're gonna work really closely together. Now, if you're a family-run store, you might not have as much leverage, but again, it's important for them to work together because there's a lot of money involved. So they do cater to the owners of these businesses. They do work with them. So when you ask, well, why can't these brands get their dealerships not to play games? Well, it's not that they're telling them to play games, but because they own their own stores, they can do what they want. It's like any job you work at, right? What it comes down to is the leadership of that dealership, from the ownership level down. If you have ownership that is looking very short-sighted, maximum profits, putting a ton of add-ons, playing games on the phone, in the store, they want the most amount of money right now and they're not playing the long-term game, well, that's probably not going to be a great dealership experience for you. But conversely, you could go to another store that's the same brand and the owner might have a totally different mentality of like, let's get people. We may not make the maximum amount of money off of somebody. We're gonna make profit, but we're not gonna make a ton. And hopefully they come back or they tell their family and friends. Those are typically the best dealerships to work with. Although you may not get the absolute best deal, you are going to walk out much happier. So you can usually tell right away, like what type of dealership what it's gonna be. And I'm gonna explain some of that here for you now. There's a few things that you need to know when you're car shopping. One is, doesn't matter whether you're an enthusiast or a new car buyer, first-time car buyer. There are a set of rules that you should follow before even calling a dealership. One is, goes without saying, try to do your research. Whether you're a single person or you have a family with a ton of kids and you don't have a lot of time. Now understand, if you have a family with multiple kids and you work during the week, the car buying experience or car dealer experience is probably going to be the most stressful for you. So what you're gonna have to do is do your research online. Go on company time, although I don't recommend that. Do some research, watch videos, go on the internet and understand each car that you potentially wanna to get into. Then you wanna schedule time. You wanna call a dealership in your area and you want to set up times with a salesperson to do a test drive and be very, very clear. I want to come in, I want to test drive this car. I don't know if it's what I want. You go in, you make it very clear you're here to test drive that car, bring your family with, and start banging out each car you want to test drive. And when you're done, you say, thank you, I appreciate it, give me your name and number, and I'll call you back if I'm interested. That is it. That's all you want to do. Be very nice and polite. If they are not going to let you take a test drive without running a credit application or all that, walk away. It should be the easiest thing you possibly do is to be able to get the test drive. Once all those test drives are done and you're sure that you've picked a car, that's when it gets a little bit easier. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna use a few different tools. And this is so helpful, and you can complain about technology all you want. It has helped car buying quite a bit. So this is in no specific order, and I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting any money from any of these guys to talk about them. It's just tools that I use. So you want to use a combination of Auto Tempest, which is a search aggregate. They search a wide variety of cars. You can look at Facebook Marketplace, eBay, etc. Find your cars there. Then you go over to like Car Gurus, another search engine where you look for the same thing. What's the car you want once you have it narrowed down? Then you have websites like Lease Hacker. If you're looking to lease a car, pay the Lease Hacker fee for that month, and it will tell you lease rates, lease deals, the incentives that manufacturers are offering, and it will help you narrow down like, okay, what's available in my area for deals that you want to get. Most importantly, that money factor, which is the APR for a lease, you want to see which is the lowest one because you don't want to spend a lot of money on a lease. The last one, which is newer, is Drive Match. They're kind of like a combination of the search engines and then looking at incentives that the manufacturers have. So let's say there's a car that has been sitting on lots for a long time, and the one that comes to mind is the Alfa Romeo Toenail or the Dodge Hornet. This was sitting on dealer lots for over a year, some of these cars, a year. So you can imagine the buying power you have along with factory incentives from the brand, the dealership's incentives. There were some people that were walking away with like $20,000 off these cars. So if you need a car really bad and you need the maximum discount, you will be able to find these through like Lease Hacker or Drive Match to find out which cars really have the most rebates, if that's all you care about. I'm not saying that's the best way to buy a car, but if you have to, these sites in combination will help you. Once you have it narrowed down, if you're an enthusiast and you know what car you want, you're either going to have to order it, basically find a dealership that can get you an allocation for that specific car. Most brands can't just order what you want. It doesn't work that way. Like a Honda store, a Toyota store, some of these commodity dealerships, like Hyundai, if you want a specific car, that doesn't mean they're going to get it. If they tell you they're going to order that car, unless they have it coming in already, that specific one, the chances of them getting that specific car you want in that color is not really common. Them preferencing a car is not something that they usually do. Unless you go to brands like Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, you can actually order the car as long as they have an allocation, which means the dealership has it earmarked that they can order a specific car from the brand itself. Says, okay, I can order one of these. They can preference it out, do all that, and it will be built exactly as you spec it and come to that dealership eventually. But most of the commodity cars are not like that. The dealerships get what they're allocated from the brand. And this is one of the most frustrating things. If you want a specific car from Honda, Toyota, or Hyundai, like, you really have to get a dealership that's going to be honest with you about what their allocations are, or do a massive search online. And that's why I brought up these search engines, because they will help you locate that specific car that maybe the dealership won't even do for you. Once you know what you want, more talking specifically about a new car buyer or a regular car buyer, you want to know what those prices are at all these dealerships. If you're seeing a specific car that's brand new, for example, and you're seeing certain dealerships are at MSRP, usually they're not going to list it lower than that, but if they're listing it for MSRP, chances are you're going to be able to negotiate. You make a list of the dealerships that are closest to you. You're going to want to call in and tell them exactly what you want, stock number or VIN on the website. And you tell them, this is the car I want. You give them your information. You're really kind. Unless the salesperson's a total jerk to you, you want to be kind and appreciative and really just positive about the experience. They've verified that the car is there, they have it or it's incoming, And that's where you start to say, this is the price that I'm looking to get. If you know that you can get $1,000 off or $500 off, or some cars might be MSRP if they're brand new, they may not deal. But in this market, you do not want to pay extra. You do not want to pay over on any commodity car because they're not going to hold their value. With the very, very rare case of like certain Lexus and Toyotas, they typically will hold their value, or certain Hondas, but almost everything else, you want some type of discount. If the dealership is telling you 100% they have markups or add-ons or whatever on any commodity car, you say thank you, but no thank you, and hang up. You go to a dealership that is willing to negotiate with you and also potentially take money off, but the most important thing is if they will not give you numbers, they will not give you the price of the car, all the fees and all of that, either in text or an email, then you go to the next dealership. The days of walking into a dealership and burning a whole day for a family should be over. And what happens if there's only one dealership in your area? Well, that's where it becomes a bit more tricky. That's when you might actually, if you have to go out of a wide area and you can't travel, that's where you might want to hire a broker. And some brokers will charge $750 or $1,000, but what they will do is they will call to every dealership and rake them over the coals and try to get you the best price. The negative part is they're going to set all that stuff up for you, but chances are you might have to travel to get the car or have it shipped. And these are costs that are going to add up, so you're going to have to be really prepared for that. But my main point is you do not want to deal with a dealership that requires you to come in and run numbers there when you know exactly what you want and you know that there's a lot of these cars on the market. You're going to want to negotiate over the phone. And most of the dealerships that are that transparent make your buying experience when you come into the dealership really honest and easy. The last 2 cars I bought, I literally called James from Crystal Lake Anderson BMW and Mazda, and I was just like, hey man, can you get me a better price on this car? Within like 20 minutes, he sent me the deal on my email, and it was like, I could see exactly what it was. And I could either choose to do it or not. And I came back like, hey, can you do any better? He's like, I can't on this one, but just let me know. And it was just easy. And I said yes, and I go in and everything was done. There was no back and forth, no games, the car was ready. It was like the best car buying experience. And I've had that also with Brilliance Crystal Lake when I bought my Type R and had friends buy regular cars from them. They made it so easy because everything was done before you went in. The minute you have to do stuff at the dealership and negotiate and run numbers and play the financing game and all that, it ruins everything. So what I'm saying is know what you want, test drive everything beforehand, don't commit, don't get stuck in a dealership. Make sure you have a relationship built on the phone and you can weed them out. You're gonna save so much time and energy. Regardless if you're an enthusiast or a first-time buyer, this is the way to navigate this system because really you're in control of your money. Don't let them, if they're making you feel uncomfortable, you're not sure, hang up. At least you can hang up and just do your research and call back if you need to. You're not stuck there with your family where you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to come back. Really think about this. But the more prepared you are and the more you understand the dealership model of avoiding add-ons, avoiding required add-ons, not playing numbers games inside a dealership, and making sure you know what the market is like by using these websites I talked about to do that research ahead of time, you're gonna go in and you're gonna know exactly what you need to do. And that's super, super important. The last thing I'm gonna talk about is whether you buy a new or a used car, you're gonna wanna see on their website a Carfax or some other auto check function where it shows you the history of the car. And there's a couple red flags you want to look at. Obviously, you don't want a lemon car. You don't want a salvage title car that's been wrecked. You don't want a car that's been stolen. You got to be careful with accidents because it will devalue the car. So if there's a minor accident, you got to make a judgment call. If it's a major accident, you should walk away because there's plenty other cars out there. But the other thing you want to look at, which most people don't talk about, is look at the service history. Did it do its oil changes? Did it have its tires rotated? Did it do the common services? If it did, you're in a good place to know this car is probably in good shape. The other thing to look at is, has this car been back for same issues? Like I found this with cars I've been looking at. How many alignments has it had? Has it had an alignment every 200 miles or 2,000 miles? Has it had the same module replaced a couple times? Or has it been back in for charging issues over and over again? These are cars that look like they could be problematic and somebody just sold it and flipped it and it was never really sorted out. So look for those key maintenance things that have been done over and over again. It's a big red flag. But again, all of these tools are at your disposal. Use them. A whole bunch of other people that are making car videos. And if you don't have time, read. Just read. There's so much information out there. Hopefully this helps. And in the next video, we're going to continue this series and talk about other car buying tips.